Hi, this is Gabe. Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be making another fountain pen. We're going to be using the same basic dimensions I used on my Bespoke Japanese Ebonite fountain pen. We're going to start with the cap first, and it's going to be a straight cap, not a tapered cap. Total length is going to be 2 3/4 inches. We're going to use a 14mm triple start tap and die. We're going to drill the hole 2 7/16 inch deep, and with a 1/2 inch drill bit, and then clean out with 33/64. We're going to be using crushed turquoise acrylic. So I promised a friend that I was going to show how I made a fountain pen just using basic acrylic. Now, normally I don't like acrylics at all, and that's why I haven't done one in a while. So anyway, we're going to be using this. I bought at Rockler. You can see that says crushed turquoise, and even though it says wood turnings, I think that's the supplier. I bought these at Rockler years ago, probably before my back fusion surgery in 2018. So anyway, you can see the length right here. This is for the cap. This part right here is going to be waist, and then when we do the body and the section, that'll be from this other piece here. So you're going to need at least 2 pieces of acrylic. Normally I like to have 3 or 4 when I make one, in case I make a mistake. And in a previous video, I had showed that I like to round these blanks first. In this one, I'm not going to do that because these are not very big diameter-wise. So it's going to be really tight. And I don't want to shave too much off those corners first. So I'm just going to use the 4-jaw chuck to drill this out. And then we're going to kind of go from there and play it by ear as we go along. First thing we need to do is cut this, obviously. Obviously, we have the blank and the 4-jaw chuck. This is the 1/2 inch drill bit, and I'm drilling to this mark right here. Now we're going to clean that up with a 33/64 and go to the mark right here. Now that that hole is drilled out and nicely centered, I'll take my measuring tool here, and if I put my finger there, you can see I'm on my line where I want to be as far as my cap goes. And if I measure it against my blank, that's how deep I am on that line. So I have some room here to work with to attach my clip. And I've already squared up and dimpled the end ever so slightly. And I had already previously squared up this end right here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to knock off the corners. I'm just going to do that with the sanding disc because this isn't very big around. I don't have that much to take off. Otherwise, I would have used the metal mill attachment. I should have done this part first, but I'm going to do it now. It's not a big deal. I'm going to add some mineral oil. We're going to use a triple start tap and die, and then we'll just run that through here. Switching to my collet chuck, I have a 3/4 inch collet inside there. I'm using my triple start jig right here, and that is threaded for the triple start. This is my mandrel for the cap. See how that seats? On the other end, that is for the body, so it's dual purpose. This goes in here like that. Okay, the distance or the diameter I want to cut down to, this is about 20 millimeters, and I want to cut it down to about 17. And if I take a look at, let me zero this out, this Japanese ebonite pen, I want to make it very similar to this. That's about 17¼ millimeters. So you can see that this is 1991, so that's almost 20. So not too much to take off here. It's just barely getting past this right here. So that'll be should be a quick and easy turn. Okay, this is the basic shape of our cap. I dished the end a little bit where that dimple was, and you can see the end here. It's not too thick. I just want to chuck this into the collet chuck here and just round off that edge a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and just rough sand it off camera, and then we'll be basically done with the cap. So after 20 minutes of sanding, this is about where we are. So not too bad. I haven't done any wet sanding at all, so there's still quite a bit of scrapes, but all that will come off then. So we can see the final diameter, which isn't too thick. So I still need to wash and clean the inside of that with some hot water and Q-tips, but other than that, that's the basic shape of our cap. Okay, for the section, just like we did with our cap, I squared both ends and then put a dimple. That one's a little hard to see, but it's there, and then I relieve the corners. This is the length of the section, which is 1 inch. And then this will be for the threaded end that goes inside the body. So if we look at our diagram here, this is what that looks like, or going to look like if you compare it to that. This is going to be roughly 1/4 of an inch. This is a little bit longer. This is about 3/8, but I'm going to turn that down to about 1/4. And then I need to drill a few holes. First thing we need to do is, I'm going to work from this end first. I'm going to round this down to 10 millimeters, 10 by 74, using a 10 millimeter tap and die, and 10 by 0.74 or 0.75 tap and die. And then first thing I'm going to do is I want to drill out the center a little bit, maybe go down about 1/2 inch. And then when we flip it over, we'll do the 11/32, and then we'll step it down to a 19/64 by 1/2 inch deep. And then that will give us our 3 steps that we need for the inside of the section before we can tap the inside. So we're going to do the bottom end first. Okay, so I'm going to go to my little organizer here. I bought this at a yard sale, but you can pick these up at Harbor Freight. This one is for my section, drill bits, tap, so forth. So everything I need for making a section is inside here. Just like everything that I need for my triple start bits is in here, like that. And if I throw my nib, my mandrel that I use, that's what I use for my triple starts. So anyway, everything I need for my sections is right here. That's 10 millimeters, 10.2. So anyway, we're going to turn that down to this diameter of 10.2 millimeters. And then this is what I'm going to use when I cut my threads. So anyway, that's how I do it. Now we're just going to run the dye on that. I put a couple drops of mineral oil on it already. Okay, so switching to my 7 millimeter drill bit. Like I said, I only want to go in about 1/2 inch, which is right there. This is for the converter. If everything's right, this should match up, which it does, and it should seat properly, which is good. This is my mandrel that I used, my little homemade one. I could either use this. If I go back to my other mandrel, the tip is also threaded to hold this right here, just like that. And this is the diameter, inside diameter of my cap. So as long as my section is smaller than that, it will go inside the cap. So this is a 3-piece or a 3-use mandrel. So anyway, I'm going to remove this and put this in my collet chuck. Okay, we are going to drill this part out right here. We're just going in a little more than a 64th deep, maybe, maybe a couple millimeters, just right here like that. So not very deep. That's just a step down for our section for the very tip. So the next step is the 19/64 going down a ½ inch deep. That is this part right here. And you can see I already have that marked for ½ inch. Now we're going to bring back our 7mm and then meet this line that we drilled here from this side. We're going to meet it on this end and clear it all the way through. Now we're going to break out our tap for our Jowo number 6 nib. And then we'll just spin that around. Let's keep an old toothbrush handy, keep those threads clean. So if we see our Jowo number 6 nib, we can see what all those steps, how they represent. And that last part right there that we just did is for the threads. And then the very end right here is 7mm. So this should go together quite nice and screws together beautifully. So I like the way that looks. Feels nice and solid. Unscrews nice. Perfect. Now all we have to do is turn that down. Like I've said before with other sections, the main thing about turning a section is the outside diameter. Make sure this diameter is smaller than the cap. And then you can pretty much do whatever shape you like. So this is a little bit of a contour, a straight contour, a little smaller on the head than it is on the back. But you can do anything you like. So I just off camera quickly rough sanded that, and you can see what that looks like. The shape is good, it feels comfortable. This is around a1/4 inch long on the back, and then that's an inch right there. So that looks pretty good. Like I said earlier, the main thing about the section is it has to fit inside the cap. So you can see that goes in, no problem. It's just a little dirty inside, but yeah, so far 2 out of 3. All right, now we're on our last step, which is the body. And you can see the whole overall length is 3.5 inches long. This is a little greater than that because I haven't squared off the end yet. And I need to dimple the backside for support, so I need to cut off that end. So I want it a little bit longer to compensate for that dimple. So we need to turn this end over here down to the 14mm because that's going to be for our die. And then we're going to drill this hole out in the center 3 inches deep with an 11/32 drill bit. And then 11/32 is also the same bit that we used on the front of the section, which is also the same size. The 11/32 is what's used for the tap on this end over here. So it's just one size bit, takes care of everything that we need. We don't have to switch it out when we run the tap, when we connect the section to the body. So once we drill this out, then we'll tap those threads so we don't have to take it out and repeat another step. So this is the bit that I use when I dimple the end. You can use a regular bit or whatever you have, but I like using this. This is for a plug center cutter, and this works brilliantly. Just want to square the end. Okay, we're going to go all the way to this line. We're drilling 3 inches deep into the body. So this drill bit's going to be very hot after getting it out of there, going in 3 inches deep. So make sure you grab it by the end and not the tip. Like I said earlier, the same hole, 11/32, is what we're going to be using for the 10 by 0.75 tap for the body. Okay, so now we're going to test that fit. And that's nice all the way around. So now we just need to relieve those edges, and then we'll put it in the on the jig and start to turn it. So the main thing is getting this centered correctly in the lathe. So I do that with my live center on the other end. So I'll hold this securely against the live center, and then in the 4-jaw chuck I'll crank that down, and then that way I know that I'm perfectly round with that and it's not going to wobble as I turn it. So that is now supported. I just need to tighten that up. Okay, using our 3-start tap as a template, I'm going to measure that right there, and that's 14 millimeters. So see that right there, it fits really nice. 14 millimeters, so that is the diameter. I'm going to turn this down to right here. For that, I'm just going to use my 1/8 inch parting tool. Now we're switching to the 14 millimeter triple start die. Remember the numbers side out. Some acrylics turn or thread better than others. The other one that I was working on when I was trying to do this video, this is actually a remake. I had to throw it away and start over because it was chipping like glass. And I really don't like acrylic anyway. I got a little bit of chip out, but not very much. Okay, the amount of chip out that I got was here on the end, but that's okay because I just want to taper that down anyway. Okay, so let's test that fit. And that's nice. Okay, so now we're getting ready to turn the body down. So now we're getting ready to turn the body down to this diameter. This is around 15 millimeters. Actually a little bit more. 15.5 millimeters, so that'll be good. 15.5, and then I can just taper it down as I go. Showing you how I turn everything. I just did the rest of that off camera. I dished the end over here, and then I rough sanded that to get ready for wet sanding. So that is pretty much the body. So let's put it all together and see what that looks like. Okay, so these are our three components. Let's put the section in the body. And that looks good right there. And then we'll put the cap on. And you can see what that looks like. So you get the basic idea of how that looks, which doesn't look bad at all. So the next thing we'll do is tomorrow or the following day, when we come back, we'll wet sand it, and then we'll check it out. Before I start with the micro mesh, I'm going to be using some 800 and then 1000 wet dry sandpaper that I picked up at the home center. Then we're going to do 1000. Okay, now switching over to micro mesh. This is 1500. You see how much cutting is going on right there by the amount of slurry built up? $1,800. $2,400. This is $3,200. $3,600. $4,000. Back that up a little bit. This is 6,000. This is 8,000. $12,000. Now let's look at that up close. That looks pretty good. So just do the same thing with the other two pieces, and then we'll come right back. Okay, you can see what that looks like. That looks really good with the section. This is the body. That turned out really nice, no pun intended. And that looks really good. I did shorten this down about 1/8 of an inch, so that's, instead of being 1/2 inch, that's now 3/8 of an inch. And then we put the cap on. Now that looks really nice together. So it's got a nice shine, and that was just wet sanded using micro mesh. And that came out really nice. Sorry it was a long video, but there's a lot of steps that go into making a custom or bespoke fountain pen. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Hey, this is Gabriel Castro. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. You can click on the link right here and subscribe. You can watch a video series right here or the latest video right here.